promised I was gonna record this review a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, but I'm gonna say about a month ago, but I've been really busy, so here goes. Just so you know, I first write my review and then I publish it. I don't like just winging it, so just beware that that's what's up with that. I'm gonna be reading it off of a script that I wrote. Mad about the boy. I'm not the type of person who claims to love movies, but only goes to the theater like 4 or 5 times a year and watches a couple of movies on Netflix once in a blue moon. I actually love movies. I've been watching movies ever since I can remember. Having knowledge of pop culture has its importance for those of us who are English teachers. Yeah, I'm an English teacher. I'm an English teacher, guilty. I am quite positive many native speakers underestimate us who teach English as a foreign language because they do not see it as a real subject. Here in Norway, it is just as strong a program as it is in a country where English is a first language. Students in high school learn literature at a higher level and are required to know the classics: Jane Austen, the Bronte sisters, Mark Twain, Nathaniel Hawthorne, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and more. Notice I opened with Jane Austen, right? One of the most famous lines in the first movie of the series, Bridget Jones. Who doesn't love Bridget Jones? One of the most famous lines in the first movie is inspired by Jane Austen's lines from Pride and Prejudice. It is a truth universally acknowledged that when one part of your life starts going okay, another part falls spectacularly to pieces, or something to that effect. Bridget Jones feels familiar to a great deal of women because she is relatable on many levels, more levels than the surface. Not only does she struggle with her weight like many of us do, but she also struggles with relationships, which is not a strange concept for plenty of women on this planet. She has a family who wants to see her date and get married, have kids, the whole shebang. They can be a tad persistent, like many mothers who are always asking when their daughters are going to get married and given grandchildren. Moms also have the habit of trying to fix us up with someone's son they know. We see all these elements in Bridget Jones movies, thus seeing a projection of who we are, were, or have been in her shoes and feeling heard. It really helps us women feel heard and seen and acknowledged when we watch a Bridget Jones movie. We all want to say what Bridget Jones says, and we want some of what she has. Having watched the first, second, and third movies, I went in with certain expectations. For starters, I had made peace with the fact that Daniel had been dead for a while. Yes, Daniel. I love Hugh Grant. I know that people hate him. You never have the sort of ordinary, how do I put it, neutral kind of attitude towards that guy. You either love him or hate him. So having watched all of those movies, I was already like, okay, so he died. Okay, so he's not going to be in this one. That's what I was thinking. I absolutely adore Hugh Grant as an actor. Yes, he did sleep with a prostitute about 30 years ago, and his girlfriend at the time, Liz Hurley, forgave him. Apparently, he's the godfather of at least one of her children. None of this plays a part on how I see him as an actor. He always makes me laugh. He has an awkwardness that is so endearing to me. I also like the oddity of some of his mannerisms. This was heavily displayed in movies like Mickey Blue Eyes and Four Weddings and a Funeral. I was devastated when I heard he wouldn't be reprising his Daniel Cleaver role in a third installment of the franchise. Alright, so they brought in Grey's Anatomy guy in. I'm just kidding. I know Patrick Dempsey did not become my boy in Grey's Anatomy, okay? He was already a part of my life, my teenage years, watching movies like Can't Buy Me Love and Loverboy. In the third movie, he has a thing with Bridget. It was a hard sale for me. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like seeing him in that spot because through my eyes, that spot belonged and will always belong. It belonged and it will always belong to Daniel Cleaver. So the love triangle thing without him was kind of a bummer to me. The love triangle was supposed to be Bridget in the middle of Daniel and Mark. That's the way I see the whole thing. I'm always thinking about that. I'm always thinking of that first movie when that was the case. Therefore, I sat in the first row at the movie theater as usual, expecting to either see Patrick Dempsey again or one of the two men in that movie poster. You know, I tried not to study the movie poster too much either. Sometimes these promotional materials end up spoiling the fun of watching the actual movies. I did see that one of the men was black. I take issue with inserting a black character just for the sake of hiring a black actor. I mean, I'm black myself. Mama is not being racist here. But I was open to the possibility of seeing the perfect match for Bridget. Perhaps this new guy? I had read the book, Mad About the Boy, and I knew that Mark Darcy was dead. I knew that. I already knew that. Daniel Cleaver is in the novel, but since they had killed him off in the third movie, I did not expect to see him at all. I know you're reading this or watching this on YouTube and thinking, where the heck do you live? Under a rock? How did you not see anything about this movie anywhere? Well, I didn't because I purposely do not look at things before I see a movie. I want to watch it with a very fresh perspective. So here's the answer to those of you who never read or watched, never read my reviews, never watched any of my reviews on YouTube. I go to the movies I want to watch without having been exposed to any media trailer, press junket interview, or any type of material that can take away the fresh feeling that I get when I watch a movie for the first time. This is what I do with every movie, so I purposely stayed away from anything until I went into the theater and watched it. My trip to the movies was no different that day when I watched the third installment of the Bridget, not third, fourth? Yeah, this installment of the Bridget Jones franchise. To my surprise, Daniel Cleaver is alive in the fourth movie. There's no explanation as to how he is still alive when we attended his funeral in the third movie. Nevertheless, they throw in a joke about his death. I was not a big fan of this strategy. In my opinion, they should have explained how he was still alive. They didn't explain it. They just, okay, he's still alive, he's still alive. There were no justifications for his still being alive. That was a disappointment. I honestly hate it when movies and TV series kill someone off and then bring them back without giving the viewer a good reason why. The lack of explanation for Daniel's death and resuscitation was a problem for me. I loved the Toy Boy. I mean, I thought he was fantastic in the role. Younger actors who lack experience on screen can translate poorly into a script like that. In this case, nonetheless, the boy she's met about did did a very good job in every aspect. All he had to do was be charismatic, sweet, and look good. Bingo, he did all of that. Easy tasks for him. They were nevertheless not at all. I mean, they were not easy tasks for him because he had to fill the shoes of the expectations that we all would have going into this movie. Renee Zellweger and her co-star were fantastic. She was perfect in this movie as she was in every other installment of the franchise. Her interactions with both Mark's ghosts and Daniel Cleaver were just as fresh as they were before. Mad About the Boy feels real and recaptures the magic of the franchise, which was somewhat lost in the third movie with the baby and all. Perhaps I'm not being too subtle, and anyone analyzing this review can see that I like the first, second, and fourth movies more than the third. Mad About the Boy makes so many references to the original that the audience can travel back and forth between the movies while watching this one. This can be felt in the choice of clothing for Renee, as well as the presence of the group of friends from the very first movie, who were and still are her rocks throughout her ups and downs. We catch up with her friend who used to cry in the bathroom over idiotic guys, and she still does it. The bloke who had a One Hit Wonder apparently made a comeback of sorts. There are scenes which are very clear callbacks to the first movie. One of such scenes is at the dinner table at a party where Bridget is again judged by society's standards. In the first movie, she's judged for not having a boyfriend, for being over 30 without a serious relationship. Oh, boo hoo. Nowadays, this is not a problem, as it was back then. It shouldn't have been, and I hope it gets even better that women can feel empowered by this. What happens in this movie is that she's judged for other reasons. She went and did the whole marriage thing. Destiny worked out in such a way that her husband died. For no fault of her own, she's now a single mom of two. The children who play her son and daughter are super adorable, adorable actors they got for the parts. It is through these two kids that Bridget meets her new love. Although she's still friends with Daniel Cleaver, their relationship is entirely platonic in this one. Therefore, she forms a romantic attachment elsewhere. Scott, Bridget's new man, is a school teacher with strong scientific beliefs, which he abandons for the love of Bridget and her children. Aww. It is not as dramatic as I'm putting it. You must watch the movie to figure out. I think I spoiled a lot of things in here, but when you go into a review, you should know there are spoilers. I'm gonna put like a, yeah, I'm gonna let people know before they start watching. I still hope all of you go and watch this movie. I had many laughs, good ones at that. It was wonderful to see all of the original cast members that were protagonist adjacent in it. Renee was superb and incredibly funny, as just as funny as ever. I would watch another one of these movies. If Helen Fielding decides to write another book and a filmmaker decides to make a follow up movie, I'm all in again. Please like and subscribe.